Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to start collecting Umbra Turris, a skirmish war game set in a fantasy world by Spellcrow Games. Now in this video, we're going to take a look at the Gnomes starter box for the game and talk a little bit about the models and Gnomes in general before looking at some other warriors we can use to bring in and expand upon our collection. We'll finally finish off the video with a 750 Dragon Coin army, Dragon Coins being the points of the game, that's what you call points in this game. And so, let's get chatting about Gnomes. So for starters, all Gnomes have Leadership 7, Movement 15, Weapon Skill 6, Strength 7, Speed 6, Ballistic Skill 8, Toughness 6, 6 wounds, and cost 50 coins. They're also available for both good and lawful aligned parties. So, straight away, this is a decent stat line. The high ballistic skill is really nice. 8 is among some of the highest of the races in Umbra Turris. And then strength 7 is not terrible. It's in that sort of mid-range. Their speed of 6 is relatively slow in comparison. But they also have a nice movement of 15, which isn't terrible, so that, the speed's not great, but the actual movement is pretty okay. Leadership 7 is about average as well. So all in all, they're pretty decent. They've got really good ballistic skills, so definitely making use of a lot of ranged weaponry can be a really good thing for your Gnomes. Now, the Gnomes have a special ability called Innate Power, where any Gnome during any attack may roll a d6. On a 5+, that Gnome can change the result of one dice rolled in attack by 1. Any Gnome who loses wounds as a result of casting a spell or being targeted by a spell may roll a d6. On a 5+, the Gnome does not lose any wounds, and if there is more than one Gnome in the party at that moment, you may re-roll that test. So the Gnomes have a nice little bit of magic resistance. They can also sort of fortuitously advantage their rolls in how they want. So they can modify the dice result by a 1, which is both positive and negative if that is ever something you need to do. All in all, these are a pretty solid race with a really nice faction rule. Now, if we are looking to bring in some other characters to the faction, especially those of different races, we've got a few to choose from, especially if we go with a good aligned party. Now, humans are really fun. The good thing about humans is grabbing them for any of your other parties, you can always add humans in because they can be from any alignment. Doesn't matter what type of human they are, whether they're from Morden, Borea, Vartveria, Estania, or Undor, they all can be from any alignment, which is good. This means, those miniatures work really well in any party you go with. Now, humans have a variety of different abilities depending on which sort of ones you go. You can go with more +1 strength if you go for something like Ondor. You can reroll ones when making prison strikes with Estania. You can have some nice abilities to fight when you die with Vartveria. Borea, if you've got your party leader, you can issue commands a lot easier. And Mortenians, if they're charged, are able to reduce a bunch of damage coming into them, which is cool. So you've got a variety of different things. They've also got a lot of different career paths available to them. Now, if we go over to the elves, we can bring in wood elves. Now, wood elves are a good and lawful race. We can't actually bring in dark elves to a gnome party as they are only anarchist and evil. But wood elves have the cool sneak ability where if a wood elf is hidden at the beginning of his turn and makes a charge, roll a d6. On a 4+, the enemy cannot parry his attack. In addition, if the wood elf is hidden at the beginning of his turn, he does not lose the hidden counter when shooting any kind of bow. So wood elves are really nice ranged characters. This is cool. This provides you, with good support, something that's going to work nicely alongside your gnomes. It's not necessarily going to bring anything different to the table, but it is going to, supplement the gnomes and keep doing what the gnomes are already doing well, even better. Now, if we're talking about supplementing something in the army, we definitely could look at half giants. Half giants can be in good parties, which is really cool. Their cool thing is Tough Hide, where critical strikes against half giants are inflicted only on the roll of a 6+. This is really nice, just allows them to be nice and tough. They've also got a super solid stat line on the half giants as well. We have Leadership 7, Movement 10, Weapon Skill 6, Strength 9, Speed 6, Ballistic Skill 5, Toughness 9, and 9 wounds. Now, the big thing with half giants is they are an R race. This means they're restricted. So, being a rare race means you can only have 2 of these models in your party. The same rare rule applies to the Tigerians, the other option we're going to talk about. Tigerians are another cool combat-focused thing where they've got their knockdown ability where after a Tigerian makes a successful charge, you roll a d6. On the 5+, the opponent loses their action dice if they had one. this can be really good for like knocking off your opponent's attacks and allowing your weaker gnomes to come into the combat and fight your opponent while they don't have any action dice to play around with. And so here we have our sample warband. Now 749 dragon coins is a point to spare in here, but gnomes, and we are an alignment of good for the party. Now our leader is going to be an outlaw. Outlaws have the cool ability Cunning, where an outlaw gains an additional d6 when disengaging from combat. If an outlaw begins his turn hidden charges and his attack is parried, you can roll a d6. If the result shows another location than the parried one, the attack was not parried and you may make a strike. You effectively feint into the combat. Now we've chosen to give this model a drill, which is a gnome specific item. The cool thing about drills is during any attack, a drill can deal a critical strike. Its owner will also have fear, and these can only be taken by gnomes. He's got light helmet, light leather greaves, a leather shirt, and he's carrying a torch as well for a nice, decent variety of armor, as well as a really interesting gnome-specific weapon on him. Now, our second gnome will be a mage or priest. This model has a spear, a talisman of destiny as well, which is one of the additional item equipments you can take, which can just give you, should you ever lose any wounds, this hero can use the talisman when he wounds an enemy or receives wounds himself during combat, or as a result of shooting with a weapon other than a throwing weapon or firearms. You roll a d6 on a 4+, he may increase the wounds inflicted by 4 or decrease the wounds inflicted by 4. So not only is this, beneficial defensively for your mage, it's also beneficial offensively as well. Light helmet, leather shirt, leather greaves there as well for the mage. This allows them to just take the light armor options they're allowed to. Now we then have a gunsmith as well. The gunsmith here is going to have a musket. Gunsmiths, any firearm with a faulty special rule or possessed by a hero in the party that would wound the owner on a 6+ or instead of the 4+. So they're effectively better at firing these weapons that are potentially faulty. Now he's got 2 knives as well, a light helmet, leather shirt, leather greaves, and a horn as well, which is another one of those special items you can take for your party. What a horn's going to allow you to do is make any reroll for failed panic tests. However, this can't be bought for a hero bearing a trophy or totem, and you can only include 1 horn per party. Now, the next gnome is going to be a fencer. They have a really cool thing where their ability is to be able to block with both swords. So they can block 2 areas at once. We've given him a repeating crossbow just because we want to make use of that good ballistic skill we have, but 2 swords as well, a heavy helmet for a nice, decent, heavily armored fighter, leather shirt, leather greaves, and an amulet of courage as well. What that amulet of courage is going to do is just allow our fighter there to have some benefits to his courage. Now we then got a marksman who's got a crossbow, 2x sword, leather shirt, leather greaves, and a healing potion on him. The marksman is another one of the shooting type upgrades we can take for one of our fighters, so really nice. And then lastly we have a gnome that's going to be a bard for the party as well. He's going to carry a hammer, have a nice little leather shirt, leather greaves, and carry a glass as well, which is cool. Glass is really interesting, where this hero can use this item as a minor action. Till the end of the cycle, the enemy cannot make ranged attacks, as they effectively blind them with a piece of glass, which is pretty cool. If you've been playing Umbra Turris, if you played with the gnomes, let us know how you've been going with them down in the comments below. Well, that is the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Sinful Gaming, we have a Discord server where we're all chatting hobby and other stuff all about life. We're all a good bunch of friends in there. The link for that is down in the video's description. Also down in the video's description is the best way to help support the channel. This is either via Patreon or YouTube members, both of which are fantastic ways for helping support, or by grabbing some channel merch from Teespring or from our Ko-fi store. Now you can find all of the links for all of these once again in the video's description as well. But as a special thank you to our Patrons and YouTube members, would like to give you all a shout out. So thank you to our Patrons: Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Writing 8, Pure Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Kaner, Bloobs, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Kevin Bowman, and Iron Grinch, and our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny 84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, John Castle, Davis Weir, James South, Dave Crozier, Dylan Areno, and James Tillman. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and a special thanks to all the guys and girls that come and help on the channel all the time. Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.